All right, what do you want to do today?
I guess like chop it down, maybe like halfway, fade the sides and the back. That's about it.
Oh, wait, you still want it to be dark?
Yep.
Maybe like a one and a half or.
Maybe a little higher than a one and a half.
Okay, so maybe like a two or
Yep.
something? Yeah,
Yep.
okay. And then you want to do a skin taper on the
Yep.
sides?
Yep.
And skin taper the neck as well? Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, perfect. All right, let's do it. Yo, what's up, everybody? Today we're doing a high skin taper on both the sides and the neckline. We're gonna take the top down to a one and a half. We did originally say a two, but a two was actually too long, so we are going to take it down to one and a half. First, we start off always by combing the hair. Don't be afraid to comb the hair when they have waves. You know, when their hair is low and they have waves, you need to comb it so you can cut it evenly. So comb the hair in the direction that it grows. That is the most important when doing a wavelength haircut. And you can see here we're doing a one and a half. Make sure that you're really, particular around the crown area, because you want to make sure you comb it in the right direction so you don't leave any light spots in that area. So first we start off, as you can see, I'm going ahead and I'm doing a one and a half guard with the grain all around the head. We're going to make everything even before we start fading. We then create our first guideline, so we're making a very light guideline, scooping up with the trimmer as we come up to make sure the line is not super hard in there. And we are going to bring it at an angle. You can see I'm angling it from where the corner of the lineup ends to basically around the top of the ear. And then we're going to add the electric shaver to make sure it's nice and bald. That gives it a nice smooth skin like taper effect. And then next we're going to take our number one guard just to take any of the hair out of there that's like kind of just in the way, a little bit like longer hairs. After that, we're going to move down to our half guard just to lighten up the area a little bit more. And then we are going to kind of taper in that top area. It's a little bit darker just naturally for her around that area. So we do like a two and a one and a half to kind of blend that in to the sides before we start fading. And then we go ahead and we do a clipper no guard, and we do the clipper just like one notch open, using the corner mostly to blend. And we are going to just lighten up that line, and then we close the clipper all the way down to the zero. Same thing, using the corner, stay on that line, and then we kind of blend up with the number one and half guard. And then when we get towards the top, we take that one and a half guard open, and then we close it, and we kind of just make sure it blends nicely and use whatever guards that we need. We make sure to keep looking in the mirror to make sure that everything is blending correctly. Sometimes you might need to take a step back and just take a good look at the haircut from a distance, because sometimes when you're looking too closely, it can be a little bit deceiving, and that's why you should be constantly looking into your mirror to get a different angle, and sometimes just take a step back if you're really unsure if the fade is really blending or not. And honestly, sometimes don't overdo it when you're blending, because sometimes it might look darker, but then once you put that lineup in there and everything comes together, sometimes it's actually blended really nicely. So also don't overdo it. Sometimes you just you'll naturally start to get that eye once you've been cutting for a while, but I highly recommend just using your gut, and also using that mirror a ton to make sure that everything is blending smoothly. And then at this point, I'm just kind of doing some detail work, making sure it blends in certain areas. I have the one guard on, I'm using the corner, I'm using different guards, I'm opening, I'm closing, things like this, just to make sure it blends nice and smooth into that taper. So this is all things that you start to get as you develop your skill set. So don't be concerned if you don't know how to do these type of things just yet, because this is a skill that you learn, and knowing where to use the corner, where not to use it, which guard to use and which one not to use comes with time and practice, because you can easily mess up a haircut if you go in the wrong direction with the wrong guard at the wrong angle. So make sure to be mindful of that. But trust yourself, trust your gut. Mistakes do happen. It is okay. The hair grows back, and you can always learn from this. And then we are doing a skin taper on the neckline. So same thing, we just kind of balled out the bottom, create our first guideline, and then we're kind of just working our way up. We are not worrying too much about the blend towards the top, because you can see, unlike the sides, it's a little bit more full there and it blends in nicely naturally, so we don't have to worry about that. So we're just blending from the bottom going up. So we just go with each guard, and then in between each guard we use the corner of our clipper and we play around with the lever to make sure it is blending nicely. So in between each guard, so for instance, you have a number 1 guard, you go up, now you go back to the half guard and you use the corner and you close it, and then sometimes you might need to open it in certain areas, but you close it and kind of hit that bottom line that you created with the number 1. And then you can do that again with the 1.5, and so on and so forth. This is just another angle of me doing the haircut. I just wanted to give you guys like more of a full view instead of just a POV view. So this is me doing the haircut. You guys can get a better look at how I'm cutting the angles and stuff like that. So if you guys just want to go ahead and watch this part, you can go ahead, but I'm going to get back on when we get to the lineup. For the lineup, I preferably always like to start with the neckline and then work my way to the front. I think it's just more of like, first off, you're just making sure your trimmers are good, you're checking them out, you're making sure the lineup is coming out crispy, yada yada, making sure everything's good. It's better to, if you are gonna have like the trimmers that aren't the best, try them on the neckline rather than do it in the front when you're trying to give them a nice, sharp, like symmetrical lineup. So yeah, and these are working great. You want to make sure to comb the hair down, make sure whatever little hairs are sticking out that you're trimming those, and you're going against the grain to make sure you get that nice, sharp, clean effect. The front lineup can definitely be a tricky area for most people because a lot of people's front lineup is not very symmetrical or just like kind of hard to deal with. You just never know, especially if it's light or if they have a cowlick or whatever. And so you always want to make sure to comb the hair down and start from the middle and work your way out both ways. That is going to give you the best possible symmetrical lineup you can get. You also want to make sure you take a step back and you always look at the lineup first before you continue to keep digging into it if you need to, or if you don't need to. Make sure you're looking at it from the front view and a side view, but the front view is going to help you be as symmetrical as possible. If you need to, use the eyebrows to make sure that your measurements are correctly. And yeah, this is the final haircut. It is a high skin taper with a 1.5 with the grain and tapered neckline. And it came out super smooth and super clean, and my client loved it as well. And then this is me just doing a little touch up at the end, making sure that lineup is extra sharp and crispy and looks really good that when she looks into the mirror. So yeah, I hope these tips helped you guys, and please ask any questions that you want.